Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Listen, I know there is hardly anyone watching because I haven't outside this show and put it out there, but I just want to make sure you all understand what is going on in the background. Let me make sure that I've got that clip on there. Show or remove clip. Right, so what I'm going to do now is go on there. There's a few things I'm going to be talking about tonight, and one of them is this. Let me have a look, make sure I've got that out there. Download, view. Let's go into it. Let's take the sound off of that. Clip that down. And then go to share. Copy link. So I'm doing this as I'm talking to you, right? But I need you all to know that it's really important to share these, right? The full English show. And there it is. Right, so I'll hit that down there, whack that out. And it is live now. Let me make sure that we get to the right position. Everyone tuned in. John at large, I made it tonight. Well done, John at large. Well done, Sean Worrell. Well done, Stevens Norman. Tracy Truism, here, behave yourself. You're on holiday in Spain and you're still tuning in. And I see what you bought in Spain. You went to a shop called Lefties and you purchased something off them. You are funding the lefties. I did think it was funny, by the way. John at large, Stafford Dron, Shaky, 1981. We done something. Steve Lomas. By the way, I've just ordered a pizza. I'm going to create a buy me a coffee thing so I can have a full English every day, right? I ain't taking a piss. That's all I want. And where I went today, they even run out of eggs. I was like, what? You're living in a country and you run out of eggs? Behave yourselves. So I had extra mushrooms. Middlesex man, good evening. Middlesex man, you know what I'm talking about. I'm extremely grateful. Well done. Thank you very much. So again, there's a number of things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. The first thing is for everyone to understand that I have made a decision with your help, by the way, because I do actually talk to you and take counsel from you, right? And what I'm going to do, I'm reading something on the screen. I shouldn't read this out. I'm not going to read this out. It's I just read the message. Right. Let me have a look. I need to find this and send it out to you. But I won't, actually. I'll probably just bring this up on... I can't bring it up on the screen. So I wrote to the High Court today, and this is our decision. You'll understand that. Without prejudice, in other words, that's an important legal term, which means you can't use this against us if we changed our mind, right? After consulting with our membership, right, because it ain't just me, it's you, I'm just your spokesman. After consulting with our membership, we have decided not to appeal the decision to strike out the two respondents, meaning the Royal Mail and the police constable, the police chief constable. We consider the petition trial going ahead to be fair and equitable and our priority. The trial was always our priority. It's about justice for the people, and there should be no cheating in elections, right? Next paragraph. It also gives us more time to bring a case under the UCHR, European Convention for Human Rights, and the Human Rights Act, which we won't be leaning into. Freedom of election for the two who have been struck out. We believe the current statute on petition rules is incompatible with human rights and denies justice, in effect giving immunity to anyone not listed as a respondent in the Representation of the People's Act 1983. Kind regards, Graham Moore. Right, so we have made the decision. Now, I do want people to understand something. I was under, listen, right, I don't mind a bit of pressure. I like a bit of pressure. But where the judgment come out, and I weren't allowed to talk to anyone, I legitimately wasn't allowed to talk to anyone, and I didn't have no major discussions with anyone. No one knew that the trial was going ahead, right? But the 4 respondents legally attacked, right? And I'm not kidding you how bad that was, right? I can deal with a lot of things, but we rely on each other. It ain't just about me, right? I want you to understand that, right? I'm just your spokesman, and I am for the people, right? I am not interested in any bullshit from the people who have been trained in university to ignore the English Constitution, to ignore our history, our legal history. Anyone talking about history and ignores our legal history is a bullshitter, right? It's our legal history that we're interested in. And the English have always rose up against these people. From everything from the Magna Carta prior to that, the Peasants' Revolt, all the way through history. We have never messed about. I've got a call coming through my hearing aids. Don't know who that is. Let me see if I can take that. Hello? All right, where are you? 2 seconds. Go on. No, not the fountain, the White Hart. No, yeah, no, that is the wrong direction. So I am. There's an alleyway about 3 doors away. That was the funniest thing ever. Right, that was it. Listen, I've ordered a pizza, right? But the delivery driver is English. Yes, right. So he's on his way down to me. So I'm going to have a little bit of a live pizza. I've made sure that it's got plenty of ham on it. So it is haram. we listen, right? There's nothing anyone can say about that. DD's gone to find Avon lady. No, it's not. It is a delivery driver. He's trying to work out where the fuck I am. No one can find this guy. I've got to tell you something. So he's on his way down, and I've no doubt he's going to ring me again. You might get me munching some pizza in a minute. It's unusual that it's come so quick. Let me have a quick look. If the phone goes again, but I will be talking to you about everything that's going on, including President Trump. Some people have noticed he's dressed in purple. Purple is the colour of the monarchy, basically, and and why the Supreme Court and high level justices wear a purple band. The purple band means they represent the crown. That's why you see them wearing in Crown Courts and the High Court and at the King's Bench wearing a purple band because they represent the crown. And people need to understand that. It's quite important. Let me have a quick look. I might have to have a quick look out there in 2 seconds. Listen, I'm actually quite hungry, but stay there and I'll be back. I know you've got a green screen, but it will be quite... I can't let this delivery drive down. Oh, where's my phone? You got pizza? Well, some please. That's it. That's the only one. I went to the other, but last time they called it something. 1960. Okay. Is that included with you? Yes, that will do. Legend. Have a good evening, mate. No worries. I give him explicit instructions and he still couldn't find me. This is fucking hilarious, right? I love living up an alley, right? He said, that's an alleyway. You really live up an alleyway? I said, yeah, they call me Top Cat. You got to have it, ain't you? Right, so just to make sure everyone's understanding, can you all see and hear me? And I apologise for jumping in and out. That is the situation we've got at the moment, right? So President Trump today, and I've seen loads of people sending me videos and saying, "Oh, President Trump walked in front of the crown." Listen, they are of equal standing, but they are of equal respect to each other, right? What do I mean by that? President Trump wore purple, and purple is for justice, right? And the crown's justice. Again, there was something else that I see today that I thought was very relevant. Apart from my riding in the carriages and I can't remember his name now, but he put a video out because he was in the carriage. That's how close he is to President Trump. Putting out a message to everyone. But the really important thing to understand is that I believe that the crown has been corrupted and hijacked, right? I think they are almost under permanent threat. Parliament, the crown has not hijacked Parliament. Parliament has been corrupted and hijacked the crown, and there's a serious threat to it. I am agnostic. I'm not a royalist, but I'm agnostic to whether they should abolish the crown, because I believe in the common law, and the common law is God's law, and the common law can give you a king if he's a good king, or it can give you a president, right? So you can either have a constitutional monarchy or a constitutional republic, but the constitution is the rule of law, right? So there's lots of things I see there today that I'm very, very interested in what's going on, and so should you be, right? So let's get back. Let me see what this pizza looks. Do you want me to have a look? See what this pizza looks like, right? I'm going to pull this. Oh, I can't even go for that in a minute, right? Because I'll be sitting here drooling. I might put the lid back on the box before I crack on with it, right? So I want everyone to understand there are things that happen legally that most people in the country wouldn't understand. If you start to piece it together and understand what's going on, I think it is very significant that President Trump came here while the court and Parliament is in recession. Like it is what's the word for it? There's a special word for it. Someone's going to give it to me in a couple of seconds. It's not basically they're in recess, right? So there's a period in which the Crown and Council control the country, and I believe it is significant that President Trump is speaking to the King of England. There's some other things that are really significant, right? One of them is that the Crown and Council, in effect, invited President Trump at Windsor Castle to attend, listen to a hymn or hymns, and the choir in St. George's Chapel in Windsor. What is St. George's Chapel? It's about England. It's not part of the unitary state that has took control of this country, took control of Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and whoever these people who controlled the monarch beforehand, I think, are losing control. I do believe King Charles is not long for this world, and that is not me being treasonous, etc., towards him. I think he's very unwell, right? I think it is significant that Prince William and Kate Middleton have spent a significant amount of time with President Trump. I think it's significant, right? You may all think I'm a raving lunatic. I think something is happening. And Charles and the Charleses of England were always the bad guys. And William was the good guy. The Prince of Orange, King Billy. The fact that our case is being heard on the 5th of November. I believe all of that is significant to what we're doing, right? Do I believe in numerology? In a lot of ways, I do. I think it's significant. I think good people with a pure heart and pure prayer are significant, right? Again, I don't do what I do for money. I do it with the realm and England in my heart. I do it because I believe in England. I do it because England is our nation. And there is a reason that Jerusalem is our national anthem. And I think Trump knows that. That's my opinion. You can say anything you like about President Trump. Things are happening in America and things are happening here. I said probably 6 to 8 years ago, don't be surprised if the 6th and 7th Fleet end up either side of England, right? So one in the North Sea, one on the other side, potentially in the St. George's Channel, which is what it used to be called before the British renamed it the Irish Sea. I think all of that is significant. I think Elon Musk making reference, let's rename the English Channel the George Washington Channel, right? And George Washington was one of us. And by the way, he was betrayed by Benedict Arnold, who I refer to as Nigel Farage. I do think there's some stuff going on. And then let me tell you something, this is really deep. I don't expect the average person out there to comprehend what I'm talking about, right? But I've followed this for a very long time. People that have watched me for at least 15 years will know that I used to go on LBC, and I remember Alex Salmond and Ian Fowle calling me on to mock me in 2015 and 2016 when I said President Trump will be the people's president. He will be the president of the United States of America. And they laughed. They laughed and laughed and laughed until he won. Because I said, I speak to American people. I speak to the people. And the people are telling me they're voting for him. And I've always said, I do not trust President Trump. I trust the people. Right? I've said it a million times. Have you all heard me say that before? I don't trust President Trump. I don't 100% understand his strategy or his tactics to get from A to B, but I trust the American people. And because the American people are just like us. They've had enough, right? And the fact that he has said, we are now giving back the power to the people. We are now representing Main Street, not Wall Street. We are now considering no tariffs, no taxes, on working people. That if you earn under $200,000 a year, you pay no tax whatsoever, right? You can bring up your family, you can go and buy an house, you can do all these things, right? And that is what's coming to England. I do believe that the British regime, in one way or the other, is going to be dismantled in exactly the same way as the United States deep state is being dismantled, right? And again, I am agnostic on whether or not there is a monarchy or a president. The executive to me is the executive, as long as they represent the people. The monarchies in this country have gone pear-shaped. The presidency in America has gone pear-shaped, but it's always the common law, God's law, that will bring the countries back to the position that we are Christian nations, and that's exactly what's going on. I think there's going to be some very deep conversations very shortly in the United States of America and with England. Remember, I think it's very, 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 very significant that President Trump has been invited into Windsor Castle and to pray in St. George's Chapel. St. George is the patron saint of England, and St. Edmund is the patron saint of the English, right? So I think that's all a sign. Some people won't believe me, but I absolutely think that is a sign. And again, my mission in my life, I am not interested in money. I am interested in helping people. I'm not interested in compensation. And if I end up starving to death and being homeless, I would consider that was, for whatever reason, if that ever happens to me, right? Again, that is a punishment from God. And that's the way I think about things. anyone who knows me knows I do not preach the Bible, right? But I absolutely believe in the Ten Commandments. I absolutely believe in Jesus was a rabbi. But does that mean he's Jewish? It means that he did not support the Talmud. He did not support the people that promoted and wanted the Roman Empire, right? And I think, again, I've said it once tonight, I say it again, there's a reason why Jerusalem is the English national anthem, right? And everyone out there should start to understand that. And I'll try and protect anyone that I believe is vulnerable, right? Whether they are young kids, whether they are young women or men or anyone else, I believe that the community is there to protect the vulnerable. God's laws are natural laws. They are indeed. So, getting on from this, I ain't been on long, but I do want to stay into my pizza. There is so much going on at the moment, and I want people to, again, so we're going to move on to this other subject, which is petitions, right? Anyone who has seen this petition, anyone signed it in our group, which is Rupert Lowe's petition or Restore Britain. I haven't got a problem with restoring Britain, right? I've got a problem with people who do not want to talk about England, right? Because England, restoring Britain means you need to completely eradicate the regionalisation of England. Otherwise, you seek to destroy England, and you ain't a bit of me. If that is your opinion, an administrative law. So in that petition, which was basically send all of the foreigners to an island that are coming here illegally, all illegals, to be shipped to an island, and then they will be processed and sent back to their own countries. The petition had over, let me see if I can find it, had over, I've just seen the petition again. Right, so I'm going to try and share this with you. Let me see if I can find it on there. Let me have a look. I've just seen another message, just made me laugh. Right, hang on a minute. Let me have a look. You don't want to see some of the messages I'll get. Right, let me have a look at this. I've got to try and get to this. Right, so I am now going to go back to, if I can find it. Where's my little camera? My camera's disappeared. Oh, there it is. Right, so I'm going to show you this. People out there should understand this. Petition exceeds, I hope this is right. No, I've got the wrong one. So stop sharing. Let me have a look. I am looking for the petition. Tickets, Rupert Lowe, number of Guardians. How can I get to that one? Homex. That ain't it. Notifications. There's so many of these open, it's unreal. It means I have to stop these while I'm talking. Petition map. Let's have a look at this. All right, let's go back. And then hopefully you're seeing this on your screen, right? So introduce offshore detention, mass deportation for illegal migrants. I've told you all that St. Helena in the North Atlantic, which is where we held Napoleon, and he died on that island, by the way. We'd spent 285 million putting a new airport in there, right? So I think good use of that island. And the islanders just want jobs, so we will just export them migrants there, right? But currently, you can see it going up on the screen, 318,750 signatures, right? And again, you can see it going up on the screen. Look, people are still stuck into it. And then what I look at is how many people agree with us, right? And it is us. And then I look at that wonderful place. I don't like the look of Central Devon, right? Behave yourself. That's why they need me here to liven them up, right? But you've got that place there, Carlisle, right, which has got the same amount of people, 1,487 signatures, right? And again, you've got that area, Great Yarmouth, put that in front. I might even move there by the looks of it, right? 2,106 signatures. They're proper English, right? And then, but again, I did show this, and everyone needs to understand what's going on. Just look at the areas that are almost white, right? So you can now see that London is completely out of the game, right? It's lost. London, and the only way we can sort it out really is if we starve London to death, right? Not to death, but starve them out. Share this tab instead. Stop sharing. So does everyone understand what I just said? Did you all see that on the screen, by the way? Now, what was really important, and I still, listen, I might have to have a bit of this pizza while I'm talking to you, because otherwise I'm going to be, it's going cold while we speak. Right? That ain't bad as it happens. It's the first time I've had a pizza from there. Actually, I quite like that. Tell me if I'm making anyone hungry, right? So, let's have a quick look. People need to understand that. Now, this is another thing I'm going to bring up, and I have to bring this up to people, right? Just to make sure everyone gets it. No migrants on deportation flight for the third day, right? They're just taking the piss out of us, these people, right? I've just seen something that's fucking made me fun. Oh, listen, I've got to put this on the screen. Some people won't like this because it does depict violence, right? But it is well worth watching. And just to let everyone know, right? Colin's dad was a bus driver, and they just happened to get his dad in the background coming over the bridge. Which I think's hilarious, right? Now, Steve Barrett is a barrister, right? He blocked me originally and then unblocked me because he said, as most barristers are trained, right, that if Parliament was to make a law that said that all blue-eyed babies with blonde hair should be killed tomorrow, that'd be perfectly legal. And I said to him, no, it would be abhorrent. It would be literally, the people would say, you could not do that, right? Under the common law. So again, I went back to him with a different argument. I said, instead of speaking about blue-eyed, blonde-haired babies, which is basically white people, let's say it this way, and bearing in mind that Steve Barrett is gay, or whatever it is, bisexual, right? Either way, it's perverted. Not normal. And it isn't normal, right? Male or female is normal. That's the way God made us, right? Jiggy jiggy, right? Men like women, women like men. So I wrote him back and I said on Twitter, and I explained to him why that was untrue. And I said, now let's change the argument. And he was like, go on then. I said, let's say that Parliament says let's kill all gay and bisexuals. What would you say to that? Would you look at that in a different way? Because you seem to ignore the fact that blue-eyed, blonde-haired babies are whites. He blocked me. And now look recently, and he's opened me back up again. He's let me back up. Why? Right? So it's just all I want to say. I might tell it as it is. I'm not saying anything nasty. I'm just telling you how it is. Right? So I'm going to show you something else. And by the way, the biggest shout out I can give tonight is to this person, right? Artist Gooner, Ned. Ned, your artistry and what you do and how you create with your mind is absolutely fantastic, right? So Ned, if you're watching this, Artist Gooner, I forgive the fact that you're a Gooner, right? Not that I like the yids. And anyone who comes from London will know what I'm talking about. I'm a bit of a tuner, which means Newcastle United. Oh, hang on. Newcastle. I'm more into Newcastle than I know, because they are proper people, right? And they love England and they love their football team. And they're pretty good at football as well. And they're proper working class. So the people of Newcastle, right? If you ever want to adopt a South Londoner up there, you're quite close to Carlisle. I love Carlisle on the map, especially the Petition map, because they've come second only to Great Yarmouth. But this is one of the images that Ned did, right? So Ethelston 2271, I think that says, or I think it says that. To the open gallery, and there you have the dragon, right? And it's the detail that he puts in this, right? You've got me and Ned on the back, right? And then you've got English Constitution, and then you've got 3rd, 4th, or 5th of November, 2025, and in November 1688, right? Crown Court, right? Chester. But he puts everything in it. It's just, and look at the image, right? You can see that England is escaping the literal movement or the unitary state, and England as a country is standing there, which I think is fantastic. Let me just make sure I've got everything else on here. There's loads of stuff I was going to show you. I just think it's fantastic. I believe something is bigger. There's something big going on. And I think people are going to be quite shocked when it starts to happen. Someone else has just sent me that message. Let me have a look. 62,000 votes, and still a close one between Nigel Farage's reform and Ben Habib's advance. I think Paz has put on there, I think he's wrong. I think he's actually being conned by these people, and there's nothing I can do about that. Now, did anyone see, I'm going to see if I can bring it up on the screen. We'll go and find it and play it to you. Hopefully it'll work. And there should be a video coming out with Liz Phillips. Look out for that. Anyone know who Liz Phillips is? I love Liz Phillips. Don't tell her husband. She's absolutely lovely. She's the absolute one of the reasons why I joined the UKIP party many, many moons ago. And I actually met her. Let me come off that tab. Stop sharing. I'm going to try and find something for you. By the way, one of my other favourite people, an absolute proper geezer, is Chris Frall. Proper gets it. And let me just make sure I say this to you. He was one of the originals. Anyone listening to should know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Let me try and find this. See John Carr today, who's an ex-Royal Marine, or a current Royal Marine, I should say. Let me see if I can. Now, I don't particularly get on with this geezer, even though I believe in fair elections. I am going to show you this before I go on to the next part, right? I've got to show you this. even he's saying it, right? Here we go. Let's see if I can play it. Can you hear this?
It is statistically impossible. It turns out that there are 16 candidates have died from the beginning of the electoral process, and we're not even at election day. So it's exceedingly dangerous to be a parliamentary candidate opposed to the oligarchy in Germany today. I've got nothing to do with the AfD, but any more than I do with Charlie Kirk. But everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to stand in an election, and everybody's got a right to stay alive, at least until the votes are cast.
What I thought was funny was when he said, at least until the votes are cast, right? Some people might not like that. I just thought it was funny. But I'm going to show you something else now, and then I can eat a bit of pizza, right? And then hopefully I'll bring it up on the screen. Everyone's still hearing and seeing this. This is really important, and people need to go out and read and send this video out to everyone. Why isn't it coming up on my history? There it is. Trying to find it. A good question. Yeah, there you go. All right. So what I'm going to do is share this tab instead. Hopefully you can all see this. And then I'm going to share this one.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the garage for another edition of Andy the Gabby Cabby Live and Alive. Hope everyone is all right this evening and hope you have had a good day. I was aptly reminded earlier that it's Tuesday. I was walking around all day thinking it was Monday. It's a good job I didn't have to be anywhere that important apart from here to do this very live stream. So what's this all about? Well, I had a good question earlier about Sadiq Khan relating to a video I did. So I thought I would put this little live together and we'd go through it together. Here's the thumbnail for this live you can see right now. Now, before I go on to the question that the person asked, and again, it's a very important one, it's equally important to recap today what Sadiq Khan said with regard to events over the weekend. So together, let's have a listen.
Look, before we begin, I want to address the events of this weekend. On Saturday, Met officers once again put themselves on the line to keep Londoners safe and facilitate the right to protest. I want to say thank you to all those involved for their work and to offer my heartfelt thoughts to those that were injured in the line of duty. I know that policing protest, especially of the sort we saw this weekend, is complex and places huge demand on the Met. I was shocked by the violence officers faced, and I've been clear that it's completely unacceptable. I also want to take this opportunity to categorically reject the appalling racism we saw on the capital streets this weekend. as the far right attempts to sow hatred, fear, and division, I know many Londoners will be feeling scared. I want to be clear, everyone, no matter their race, faith, or background, is welcome here. And now's the time for us to come together.
Right. Have you noticed when he says far right, his teeth kind of go far right? It's, the same old trope being rolled out again and again and again, and people get...
I need to stop that for 1 minute. Anyone who knows me, and has known me for a long time, understands that I was a lone protester at the O2 in front of 3,000 people and stood up against Sadiq Khan and shouted out to him right at the front, right, and waved the documents to say that MI5 had investigated you and MI6 on behalf of Parliament because you was part of the two in circle. You was visiting people who known jihadist terrorists, right? And I asked him to answer that when he was doing a speech at the O2. And so me, on my own, with 3,000 people, his supporters, all around him, and it took security to surround me. And I basically said to him, "Don't touch me. If you do, I'll be pursuing assault charges and battery charges. Do you understand that?" And I left non-violently, just left. Prior to that, we arrested Sadiq Khan for subverting the English Constitution at a Fabian conference in London, Houston, London, right? And again, our group, which was then known as the Pendragons, was infiltrated by communists, right? Because that's what they do. So all I'm asking is people understand exactly what I'm saying to you, right? Sadiq Khan is not unknown to me.
Off the back of that. Now, just to cover this as well, I want to show you this video.
2018.
This is a piece of footage that the Metropolitan Police Service released, trying to imply that this occurred at the United Kingdom march over the weekend. This piece of footage you are seeing right here is a few years old. It was actually from one of the lockdown protests that occurred within London around that time. So they're all at it, trying to gaslight the living bejesus out of us. And if you look at my earlier video, you will see what I thought of his so-called far-right trope. Now, the video I did generated this question I'm going to show you right now, because I mentioned English law and I mentioned Constitution, as I always do. And I got this. Good afternoon. Could you please provide a link to the English Constitution and the section that would delegitimise Sadiq Khan's position as Mayor of London? If it were implemented as you stated, I'd hazard a guess that your experience of growing up in the 80s was different to his on account of you being white. It's a shame when we have to quantify it like that, isn't it? I grew up in the 70s and it was frankly an appalling time, and I am white. Well, as you can see, I am white, as you say you are as well. And I suppose it's really where you grew up, what you were experienced with, you know, where you grew up. I mean, I grew up in the southeast. I'm still here. I won't go too much into my family, but let's just say I was brought up in an environment which was safe by virtue of certain things. And, you know, maybe I led a sheltered life. I don't know. But, you know, everybody has a different upbringing, don't they? But to the question, where is this? Where is this thing that I talk about within English law? That's the thing, English law. Well, it all starts with here. And I'll bring this up on the screen for everybody to see. And it's very important that what I'm about to show you now, you understand this and realise, or at least attempt to understand, why we've got the problems we have with Khan and everybody else. Now, this document is something called the Act of Settlement. And I'll march it all the way up to the top, and you can see there, Act of Settlement 1700, Chapter 2, 12 and 13, Will 3. And, you know, this is one of the founding documents that make up what we come to know as our Constitution. And across all of them, the Bill of Rights is another one. It lays out what our fundamental rights as English men and women are, or were at the time of writing. Now, the very specific thing I want to draw your attention to is this paragraph here. I'm going to read it to you. And as I said, you need to understand what I'm saying to you. After the said limitation shall take effect as aforesaid, no person born out of the kingdoms of England, Scotland, or Ireland, or the dominions thereunto belonging, although he be made a denizen, except such are born of English parents, shall be capable to be the Privy Council, or a member of either House of Parliament, or to enjoy any office or place of trust, either civil or military, or to have any grants of land, tenements or hereditaments from the crown to himself, or to any others in trust to him. So what does that mean? And bear in mind, this is 1700. What it's basically saying is that if you are not born of English parents, then what occurs is that you can't be a politician, you can't be a mayor, you can't be an officer in an army, you can't be a councillor, you can't be a police officer, you can't be any of those things that where you're exposed to any area of the state that, you know, could be compromised by your presence. That's what that was. That was there to protect the state, the English state. That law is still there. If you look at Halsbury's Laws of England specifically, it's all there, laid out over multiple volumes. Now you ask the question, why particularly did we get Sadiq Khan? Why did we get, is it Sabima Mahmood in Parliament, David Lammy, Diane Abbott even, and all of those other people? It's very simple. Years later, and what you have to understand, they tried this and it got abolished before, but years later, in 1948, you had something introduced called the British Nationality Act. Now, what the British Nationality Act did, well, it was constitutional treason, for want of a better word. They call it constitutional vandalism, but it amounts to treason because what's happening is it's usurping the English Constitution. It's trying to destroy it. So let's have a look and I'll show you. This is it again, and you can see all this. All this information's in the public domain. This is off the website, the government website. Now, what you're seeing here is a list of repealments. Now, if I just scroll all the way to the top, you'll see there, British Nationality Act 1948. Now, there's another British Nationality Act 1981, which further solidified or doubled down on what was done in here. Now we're back at this list of repealments. And repeal obviously means get rid of. Now, what I want to take you to, bear in mind this is 1948, the Act of Settlement. So the act that we're talking about, the Act of Settlement, which is the one we've just gone through. I hope everybody understands that one. Extent of repeal. So what's going to be gotten rid of? Now, in section 3, the words from that after the said limitation shall take effect to in trust for him. Now, that's very important because by repealing that, what you then do, you remove that whole paragraph from the Act of Settlement. Or you're saying that paragraph in the Act of Settlement no longer has effect. We've repealed its meaning, got rid of it. So then you get Sadiq Khan, you get David Lammy, you get Diane Abbott, you get what's-her-face Mahmood, you get all the others. This is why we are in the trouble we're in. Now, the other things about the British Nationality Act as well, you've got these other acts, an act for the more effectual suppression of piracy, and the words natural born and denizens of kingdom has been taken out. The Piracy Act, 1744, the words natural born, denizens has been taken out. The Legitimacy Declaration Act, natural born has been taken out. The Juries Act, 1870, natural born in both places where it occurs has been taken out. The merchant ship, so on and on and on. And if you scroll down to the bottom, again, there's more repealments, and you can see quite clearly anything that describes a natural born person of England, Scotland, Wales, they're getting rid of it. So then what that does is open the doors to, you know, the uncontrolled situation we've got now. And you wonder why we got the problems we have. It really is out of control. Now, if you actually read these acts, you can see the damage that they have done, the damage that they are starting to do to our countries. This is the thing. Now, I want to show you another piece of English law as well. It's this one here. This is taken out of Halsbury's Laws of England. I think it's volume 8. In addition, civil servants may be subject to a purge procedure and positive vetting. The purge procedure is designed to prevent persons with communist or fascist associations being employed on work, the nature of which is vital to the security of the state. So anyone with communist intentions, anybody that's got fascist ways about them, have to be purged. That's the way of it. You all heard of the Fabians, the Fabian Society? Communist lefty think tank. Well, have a look at this picture. This is taken from the history page of the Fabians website, and it gives you a list of all of the chairmen of the Fabian Society going back years and years and years. And if we scroll down to the bottom, 2008 to 2010, who do we find? Sadiq Khan. You've got others in there as well, Ed Balls being one of them, and scroll down the list, Margaret Hodge, you've got others' names, but there you go, Sadiq Khan. So Sadiq Khan was the chairman of an organisation that is purely based on the ideas of socialism, communism, whatever kind of ism you want to say. And I've just showed you the law that, if applied, means that he and others of similar ilk could not hold the office to which they currently do. It would be illegal. That is why they want to destroy England. That is why they want to regionalise everything. That is why they want us back in the EU. And then they can transpose their own version of administrative law over the whole lot, and everything I've told you will be lost and gone forever. That's why we need to make sure it isn't. What do I mean by regionalisation? Have a look at this. This is England. You know, you've got a devolved administration in Scotland, devolved administration in Wales, devolved administration in Northern Ireland, and this is England. What you've got here is the regionalisation of England. Greater London, South East, South West, you can see it all. And you talk about mayors and you talk about regions, no counties, no shires. What they're doing is carving us up into these different regions, because what the overall plan is, and again, this is in the public domain too, if they get away with this and have England in this way, then they can sneak us back into the EU by the back door. We then become one big happy family like the USSR was back in the day. and they can impose their own constitution and their own system of law onto the people of our country. That's where all this is heading, folks. That's why they're shit scared of the English. That's why they won't have English on stages in big events like at the weekend talking about all this kind of thing, because they know full bloody well that it will undo everything that they're planning to do. The Constitution is the solution. And people need to hear this information. People need to learn this information for themselves. People need to understand this information. On the 28th of September, there's a seminar in Essex. I'm going to try and make it if I can. And it's something that Graham Moore's delivering, part of the English Constitution Society. And having studied it for 30 years, he knows far more about it than I ever bloody will. That is for sure. Anyway, at this stage, folks, thank you very much for watching. We've got 500 in the house. Appreciate it very much. If I can ask you to hit the like, subscribe to the channel. It's time to go through your comments and see what you have to say. Blood, hello, my friend. Copy and paste this to show your support. I'm assuming that's supposed to be the England flag. Unfortunately, YouTube, as I was just saying about censoring England, that puts it in black.
So what I'm going to do now is cross over to our main screen. Because there's a bit of black in the background, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to ask everyone who's watching this on the screen as we speak, the difference between Rumble, a free speech platform, and everyone else, right? Meaning YouTube, Twitter, everyone else, right? I'm going to ask the people watching this at the moment, especially on Rumble, because Rumble did this for this channel and for us when I asked them and you asked them, we work as a channel, hit the English flag on the screen, right? That is the difference between Rumble and the British moderated, censored YouTube, right? Hit the English flag, right? Show the people watching the difference between Rumble that shows our flag and YouTube that actually censors the English flag, right? YouTube, Twitter, Facebook censors the English flag. If they see you put the code in for an English flag, they remove it off the screen. Now look at that English flag coming up on our channel, right? That's the difference between Rumble and the rest of them. This is crucially important for people to understand. I know a number of our members that went to Saturday's protest, and they said, Graham, it was an absolute sea of English flags. And everything on social media tries to depict the British flag. They've selected the images. They've used AI images to show a British flag rather than the English flag. Tonight, people, this is your night as the English to tell the unitary state, not a country, the unitary state of the British to fuck off, right? You now can put the English flag, if you're on Rumble, right? It is the only platform that have allowed us to do this. We put our own English flags on, and they said your members, the people that follow you on Rumble, have got access to all of these. You upload them and we will put them on. We will not censor you, right? And that is why you can see currently in that video the difference between Rumble, YouTube, which is heavily censored, not just by the CIA, by Mossad and all these other groups. You can display any flag other than the English. You can display the Israeli flag on YouTube. You cannot display the English flag, right? And we are the people that exported the common law, God's law, to so many Commonwealth countries. We exported the English language to somewhere in the region of a third to half of the world speaks English, right? And we exported the common law jurisdiction, the best social justice system in the world, right? We are being destroyed as a nation with regionalisation. I can tell you now that Andy the Gabby Cabby is a normal, everyday working man just like me, right? He don't speak with a plum in his mouth. He never went to university, as far as I'm aware. That means he never got brainwashed. Because the universities, when you send your kids to university, you are sending your kids to be brainwashed by the communist system. Whether it be Oxford, Cambridge, or a schooling system like Eton that believe that they rule over us. I can tell you now, every working man that I know has got more intelligence, more problem-solving skills than anyone who went to university, right? And I'm just making sure you all understand this. So I severely want you to put in this chat today as a big shout out to Andy the Gabby Cabby, that is obviously sitting there and has took the time to look up the history, look up the law, and say, you know, saying what he's saying is actually true, right? And we are being destroyed by regionalisation, and it is to take us back into the EU. The EU will then be designated as a country for global reasons. England will no longer exist. We will no longer have the common law, and you will no longer have the freedoms that you were given by our ancestors to literally hold that flame of eternal freedom and pass it to the next generation. And many of these people, and especially in the areas that I visited, everyone is listening to what I'm saying. They're not understanding the severity of what they're doing. They don't understand they're destroying a nation, and that nation is England. I will talk about England. I will support local businesses, local people. I will promote them. And what did they do? They took all of my channels down. They took my Facebook down. Anyone out there, Eastha McVeigh, I think it was. Anyone remember that video? Anyone watching this now? If we can have a little short of everything that I've stood up on my own, right, and disrupted their meetings. Esther McVeigh, when I stood up, everyone said, I can't believe you did that in front of the world's press, right, and said these people are lying to you, right? Again, the O2 in London, when I stood up and said to Sadiq Khan, you are a jihadist. You are part of the Tooting Circle. Again, the arrest of Sadiq Khan at the Fabian, because he was given a speech to the Fabian Centre, the Fabian Society, January the 13th, 2018. Somewhere in the region, and I'd already been arrested 2 weeks before that, all on camera, by the way, for petitioning the Crown outside Buckingham Palace, right? All I've ever done is non-violently stood up for you, right? And there's many people out there, especially trolls, especially narcissistic people that like control, of all they've ever done is conned me, and all they've ever done is try to destroy me. All I'm going to say to all of them people is go fuck yourself, right? You could never destroy me. A narcissist will never destroy me. My mind is too strong, right? Because I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe in God, and I believe in England. And if there's anyone who's out there that's Irish, Scottish, Welsh, you should understand something now, right? The globalists have used you to attack England when England is supporting you, and all the bullshit you have been fed by calling the English British is literally bullshit, right? And the biggest weapon that you could use against the globalist is the English. And you need to promote the fact that we need to fly our flag, right? The same as I promote the fact that the Irish need to promote their flag. The Northern Irish need to promote their flag. The issues in Southern Ireland and Northern Ireland were exacerbated by the British regime. All right, they stirred it up. They wanted it, and they didn't care who died. The Scots, the Welsh, the Cornish, and the Irish. Right, the Cornish have got no problem with as a Celtic nation, right? But you are a common law jurisdiction, the same as Wales. If you want administrative law, have it. But I'm telling you now, you won't have a jury. You won't have a jury system. You will have state jurists, in other words, judges that make the decision on your guilt or innocence that are associated directly with the state, right? England does not believe that, and nor does the United States of America, apart from Louisiana, right? So I'm just making sure that you all understand the English are not the bad guys. We're the good guys. We're trying to teach you what your constitution is, and you should have been told this many moons ago. You should have been told all of this under the education system. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing that now, bring that up on the screen, hit the English flag for me again, and then I've got to get back to work, believe it or not. I've had about 2 hours off today, but I have put out the fact that we will not be appealing, but we will be placing the case before the European Court of Human Rights, right? Use their own laws against them, right? So what Andy was talking about there was the House's Laws of England, 4th edition. There it is there. Volume 8, compulsory acquisition to constitutional law. And then at paragraph 1310, it is a breach of discipline for the civil servants not to obey those rules. In addition, civil servants may be subjected, which means must, to a purge procedure and a positive vetting procedure. The purge procedure is designed to prevent persons with communist or fascist associations being employed on work, the nature of which is vital to the security of the state. Right? So again, goes into a lot of detail there. It's all in the book. It's not me lying to you, right? But will you get any so-called barristers, right? Well, let me get this the right way. Sucking at the teat of the British establishment, right? We, as English men and women, right, are about England. We're not interested in bribery. I've said I ain't interested in the money, but I am interested in passing the eternal flame of freedom on to the next generation. And if I end up dying a pauper and dying fucking homeless, I will, right? But I'm never going to surrender to these people, communists and fascists. And both of those groups of people are on the left, not on the right. If we was left alone, like President Trump is doing now in America, telling people going back to tariffs, we've taken down the North American Free Trade Agreement, right? We're going to take down the FEMA regions. We're going to tell people the truth, and I want people to know this. Tucker Carlson was about to release a documentary about 9/11 on the very day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And Tucker Carlson didn't release the video. He didn't release the series, right? Now, I'm a member. I kept clicking on there because I said, I want to see this series all in one. He is telling you the truth about 9/11. And they assassinated Charlie Kirk on the day that video release was supposed to go live, right? It's now being released on the 23rd of September. So on that channel, the Tucker Carlson channel, right? And he's just been honest about Israel. He is telling you the truth. And I think there are two groups of people that are directly involved with 9/11, and that is the British and the Israelis. Right? That's my honest opinion. You're going to see what's gone on, and everyone out there should understand. I'm not telling you lies. I'm not here to lie to you. Right? You got enough lying and bullshit from the BBC, and anyone still paying their BBC license, right? You are financing the propaganda that is crucifying England. So if you are one of them people that is Irish or Scottish or Welsh, right, and you are communist affiliated and paying the BBC license fee, propaganda, right, and that includes Sky News, ITV, all them people, you're the problem. You're part of the problem. And let me just say this to you. I don't want you in my fucking country, right? Not because of your colour of your skin. You're the same fucking colour as me. But because you are a communist and a fascist and you hate the English. Don't live in my country and take our jobs and our money if you don't respect that country. Fuck off, right? That's as simple as that. If you're Scottish, Irish, or Welsh and you live in my country and you respect us, right? Mutual respect. I ain't got a problem. I worked on a building site where there was a Welsh geezer, right? Where I was actually a crane supervisor, and he was a senior crane supervisor, right? And he wanted me off that site for the sole reason that I was English, right? And it ain't the first time I've seen it. Ask anyone, it's online as well. There's been court cases, right, where I was sacked because I was English. This is the only reason I was sacked from good jobs, senior jobs with lefty companies, right? And still, I have never resorted to violence. I've still took it the legal route, right? So much so that one of those tribunals actually said that what he believes in his English nationality is a protected characteristic, right? So I started to give you the defences that you needed. That's all I'm saying to you, right? And again, to anyone, any of them people listening to this now, including the narcissistic CUNTs out there that think they can control people, fuck off, right? Do you really think I've gone through my life? And some of them people need to be very careful, right? Because I ain't a mug, right? You try and damage me personally, right? You make it personal. That's all I'm saying, right? So those narcissistic people should remember that in particular, right? I may be the nice guy, and I am. I will defend women, children, and the elderly, and the disabled. You start fucking with me, and you think I'm a CUNT, right? You've got the biggest problem you've ever had in your life, and I don't give a fuck if you're a woman or a man. It's what you're trying to do. I can see what you're doing to people mentally. You are evil people, right? Just to let everyone know that. Don't take my kindness as a weakness. Do you understand that? Is that a fair comment to everyone listening to this? Do not take my kindness as a weakness. It will be the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. That is it, my friends. I am grateful for all those listening. There's lots going on. I'm hoping to have a much more... again, I've still got to do some work on what I'm working on at the moment, which is the cost application, or I should say the rejection of anyone costing. But hit the like button, come back to me, and remember, you're all great people. Let me just go back and see if I can switch that off a sec. Hit the like button, by the way. I'll tell you what, hit the English flag, right? Hit the English flag. And by the way, if there's anyone listening to this out there, whilst I want to stay in Devon, right? If you've got a bit of land and want me to put a pod on your land, self-contained pod, and live on it, right? For a peppercorn rent, I'll do that. Someone actually sent me the idea today. They've sent me an email and said, have a look at this, which I will be looking at properly. I haven't looked at it yet. But again, there's some people out there that absolutely disgust me. But there you go, right? Let me say good evening and God bless everyone watching and listening. And I will see you all very shortly. Be lucky and see you again tomorrow night, 8 p.m. I might be slightly late. I might be slightly early, but I will be here. And then I'll tell you how it's all gone on the other side of it. That's it. Good night. God bless. I'm going to leave the actual, I don't know what comes up on here now at the moment, but I'm going to leave it up slightly and let you have a bash at that. So good night. God bless. And don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution.